Kenyans, our beloved Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, which is the main gateway to our nation, is facing a major shift. And before we celebrate and accept this change, it's crucial that we understand who is stepping in, and this is the Adani Group. My name is Mwavali Derrick, and today I just want us to converse and get to know who are this Adani Group, what have they done globally before we celebrate, or to get to understand why most of us are against Adani Group taking over Jkia. First of all, who is Adani Group? So the Adani Group is an Indian multinational conglomerate founded by Gautam Adani in 1988. Over the decades, it has grown into one of India's most powerful service providing companies, operating in key industries such as minerals, ports, energy, mining, infrastructure, and airport. Today, Adani is synonymous with large-scale infrastructure projects, and they have expanded their reach into several countries. Despite them being, despite Adani beginning in India, it has grown its roots, or it has grown its branches to other nations. And let's take a look onto the Adani's global reputation. And despite its size and influence, the Adani Group has been the subject of numerous controversies. Some of these controversies include environmental violations. Now, in India and Australia, Adani has faced a series or serious accusations of environmental destructions, particularly in their mining projects. Remember, I have told you they take part in mining also. Now, these violations have included deforestation, damage to wildlife, and pollution of water resources. Now, another controversy that Adani Group faces globally is a human rights concern. Now, several communities have accused the company of displacing local populations and ignoring the rights of indigenous people in areas where they operate. They have moved to a place, taken land there, but they don't appreciate the local citizens in that place. They seem, or they have tended to totally dissociate themselves with the citizens and leave them the way they found them. Now, corporate governance is another controversy. There are allegations that the Adani Group has engaged in questionable corporate practices, with these accusations of opacity and financial irregularities. Now, these financial irregularities is something that I, as a person, really fear when it comes to our country, Kenya, and the Adani Group being a potential takeover of the Jkia International Airport. Remember, in Kenya, we really face something called corruption. And if corruption is in play and Adani has got financial irregularities in its reputation globally, then it raises a concern. Now, despite Adani having taken charge of several companies, several infrastructural duties, several mining duties across the world, they have shown a keen interest in Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Kenya. Now, why is Adani interested in JKIA? Now, Kenya is a growing economy, and JKIA is the largest airport in East and Central Africa, a critical hub of international trade and tourism. Adani sees these as a strategic investment to expand its airport management business, having already taken over several airports in India. Now, remember, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport is the main gateway to East and Central Africa. If Adani Group is going to take over JKIA, then it means it has taken charge of the main entrance to East and Central Africa. This will make Adani to have increased the airport control in East and Central Africa. Now, despite Adani Group being able to improve the technology in JKIA, there are so many risks that come with it, and here is where I now want to base my talk for today. Now, what are the risks of allowing Adani to take over JKIA? Now, allowing Adani to take over JKIA comes with a significant risks. Number one, loss of Kenya's sovereignty over critical infrastructure. JKIA is not just an airport, it's a national asset. Handing it over to a foreign conglomerate means relinquishing control over one of the most critical pieces of infrastructure of this country. Second, Adani's track record. The company's management of airports in India has been criticized for prioritizing profit over passenger safety and satisfaction. Reports of inflated charges, poor customer services, and underinvestment in airport infrastructure have emerged, will Kenyans face the same? Now, another thing, environmental impact. Based on the past, Adani could compromise environmental standards. Airport expansion of 10 led to significant land use change, and we cannot afford reckless environmental management in a country where our natural resources are already under pressure. The second last thing on the risks as to why Adani should not take over Jkia is financial implications. There are concerns about how the deal would be structured. Would it put Kenya at risk of debt? Something that we Kenyans don't know. If these people are coming to, like, what is the main deal between the government and Adani? Tunaenda kuongezewa deni or not? Will profits flow out of Kenya? Remember, we have minerals in Africa, minerals that are mined in Africa, but profits are taken to other nations. Will this again occur with Adani taking over JKIA? Benefiting only a foreign corporation, will we bear the risk? Remember, Adani is not a local corporation. It is a foreign corporation from India. We are benefiting a foreigner. What if the foreigner we are trying to bring in, that he will help us grow, what if he comes in with the idea of nepotism, the idea of tribalism, whereby he decides only to employ the family members? Are we ready to cope up with that? Now, as we end this, the most crucial thing about the Adani takeover of JKIA is monopolization concerns regarding Adani's group, and the potential monopolizations concern surrounding the Adani group's involvement in the aviation sector, with the possible takeover of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, stem from several factors. Number one, concentration of power. Here I'll do a comparison of two nations, India and its impact on Kenya. Number one, let's begin with India. In India, the Adani Group has quickly become the largest airport operator, managing 25% of the country's air traffic and operating major airports in key cities. This is operating in key cities over India, Mumbai, Hyderabad, among other cities in India. Now, this rapid accumulation of airport assets has raised alarms, whereby the concentration of power in the hands of a single private entity, which could potentially reduce competition and lead to monopolistic practices, because with such a large player in the market, it is really hard for other businesses or other players to enter the same field. Now let's take an look at the impact in Kenya. If Adani were to take over Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, a similar concentration could occur in Kenya, whereby the group might gain significant control over the country's primary international gateway, that is Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. And don't forget, if they take over JKIA, the potential of Adani taking over other airports such as Kisumu International Airport, Malindi International Airport, Eldoret, among others, is really high. And this could limit the ability of other operators to compete and may lead to higher cost of airlines and passengers due to reduced competition. And this has been witnessed even with Safaricom, which is the only player in provision of online services. They have not faced that competition until Starlink came into play, is when Safaricom was shaken. Second is the regulatory challenges. Remember, with a large entity like Adani controlling multiple key infrastructures in a country, the effectiveness of regulating oversight becomes critical. It will be really hard for government or government arms, government services or government service providers to regulate such a big player. We know the influence they'll come with, the corruption in this country. It will be really hard for certain things to be accounted for, and there is a risk that a powerful corporation could exert undue influence over regulatory bodies, where this brings a limelight into the effects of corruption in a nation. Now, as a Kenyan citizen, what should you do? Number one, you need to understand, like you need to follow up what is the original deal the government has signed up with the Adani business group. Read it, understand. Do your research on how Adani is performing in other nations. Then you as a Kenyan, make a decision. If you'll make a decision to stand with us as Kenyans who have decided that we are not going to support the potential takeover of Jkia by Adani, then you need to make such a decision based on the research and the findings that you have. Air out your views based on facts, based on a research of what you have done, or even what you have seen or what you have heard from people. Because if Adani is going to take over this Jkia, from a personal perspective, with the kind of leadership we have in this country, with the rate of corruption we have in this country, and Adani being a big player in the market, I really fear that development is going to be low, and second, there is going to be a high level of corruption, and even some people may lose job, because you never know, maybe msemnapea job in nepotism, tribalism, just as I've said. So it's upon you as a Kenyan to make a decision on what you think about Adani business group. Till we meet again, this has been The Talk with Mwavali. Goodbye.